Hello, I'm back to play more LOK Digital. It's a very unique puzzle game where you spell out words in a grid space, trying to turn the entire grid space from white to black. Spelling out a word will darken the tiles, and spelling out a word also gives you a power-up to use to darken other tiles. You'll see what I mean when I get in there. We're now in World 8, and it's looking a little bit different than usual. This is a visual effect that we haven't seen before. I wonder if that's just for the menu or if that's going to have some kind of gameplay consequences. Whenever you start a world in this game, it teaches you a new mechanic and then expands on that mechanic. So it looks like I can fill out this letter with anything that I want it to be at the time of going over it. So the question mark block is basically like a BE character, but without having to use a BE. So the word that I just spelt out there, lock, in my dictionary, gives me one square to blacken. Tlack will give me 2 squares to blacken. They have to be beside each other. Ta will blacken all of a specific type of, what is it, like, character? I'll show you right here. So if I spell out lock and get rid of the Z, I guess I can't make the TA to the side, but what I was going to do is hit the TA so that I could then get rid of all of the R's, which I think is actually still the solution to the puzzle. So if I get rid of this R in the top right, I can spell out a ta and get rid of, that isn't it. Right, my bad. I should be making a tlack here. Tlack to get 2 adjacent tiles. And another thing about this game, when you bridge, or like when you place down your, I don't know, I'm going to call them wildcards, the tiles that you get rid of wherever after forming a word, they, fill out the space that isn't already darkened. So like these two are considered adjacent to each other, even though they actually aren't. You can also spell out words like that. So when I try to make a ta here, I get to spell it through other letters. So I could get rid of all of the R's here, but then there's no way for me to make this question mark block anything. There's no singular letter word out there. So the tlack doesn't seem to be it, unless maybe I get rid of these two instead, and I make a ta1 here. No, that's not going to work. It does seem like I should be making this a lock. Okay, so at the very beginning of this level, I've got 2 options. I can make a tlack, or I can make a lock. There's no other word that I can spell in my dictionary. So I'm going to run with the assumption that it's tlack. Now, which letters do I get rid of? If I get rid of these 2, I can make a ta, but that backs me into a corner. If I get rid of these 2, no, it doesn't do anything. Same with this, because if I make a ta here, there's no way to fill out the rest of the letters. So I'm thinking that tlack isn't the way to go. I need to spell out lock here. And then I can make a ta on the top and a ta on the bottom. But I don't have enough squares to get that done, because if I make a lock, I can only place down 1 wildcard, and while I do get the ta spelled out here, I can't get rid of the S on that side. Maybe it is tlack and it's just something that I'm not seeing. If I were to get rid of... Getting rid of the question mark doesn't do anything special. No. Okay, I didn't think so, but might as well check. Weird that it asks me to type out when I'm having ta select this character. I guess it just wants me to, like, choose what letter this is, but then it doesn't update the letter in time. Maybe a bug in the game, maybe not. So you can start spelling from here, which is interesting. I don't think it does anything for me. Why is this giving me so much difficulty? So there is something in this game where you can just go on to the next puzzle. So I think that's trying to tell me something about this mechanic, but since I can't solve it, I'll come back to it later. This is interesting. I've got 2 letters that could be anything. Oh, okay. So I could spell out lock here, but then if I do so, I can get rid of 1 square and I have 1 remaining. I could spell out black instead, but if you have any of your wildcards remaining, it doesn't like finalize the action and the tiles don't actually darken. So we have to use another word from our dictionary, BE. That will allow us to place any letter that we want down onto the board. So I'm going to make this an L. Or no, let's make it a T, so that I can then spell out ta to get rid of the K at the end. That works. All right, another thing, tiles are also considered adjacent if there's empty space in between them. So I'm seeing a TLAK here, but we need to get rid of this T. So if I get rid of the ta, that would allow me to, well, I can make that black, but now how do I fill out the rest of these squares? There's no words that we have with P or J, so they just have to be wildcarded away. If I taw and get rid of the wildcards... Oh, if I taw while hitting a wildcard, it will allow me to select that letter. So I can hit a J up here, which will allow me to bridge the gap from the P to the question mark with my flag. All right, so another letter that has been introduced in prior episodes. X is a conductor and will allow you to like turn corners, if that makes sense. It doesn't actually use the X, it just partially does so. So I'm going to, and it doesn't keep the conductor status. So once I'm done with this lock, I can now spell out twack through it. Interesting. So I'm seeing a question mark block here. If I get rid of this T, I could make a TLAK across the board. To get rid of this T, I'd have to use this TA, but then that gets rid of the A that I want to use and the TL. So I'm thinking I could bounce it into here to make this an A instead. And I would want to get rid of the conductors. But if I do so, then there's no way for my twack to finalize the board. So if I bounce this with the conductor up here, to hit this A up here, I'm no longer using the question mark block, I'm using the A block from up top. And now these 2 blocks are beside each other, and I can use the tlac on them. Reinforcing the lesson that we learned at the previous level. So I'm seeing a lock here, I'm seeing a tlac. If I make an X, and it assumes that you want it to be X if you make a corner, that's very nice. So lock gets rid of 1. And tlac gets rid of 2. But that's not enough. I'm seeing a B here, and the only word that we have with B is BE, and that's not going to like fly. What I could do is make tlac, get rid of these 2 characters, and then make Lolo as a word. Lolo will hit all tiles in the this diagonal. I don't know what direction that is. From bottom left to top right. BE creates a letter here. What letter do we want it to be? I can make a Lolo, but that feels like it's too obvious and it wants me to do something else. If I make a conductor here, I could make the word lock first and get rid of a square. And then wait, can I just type out question mark? Oh, that's cool. Okay, because I needed a conductor here for the first time around to be able to get rid of this J. And then here, I need this to be a Lolo to both expunge the question mark block and get rid of all of these J's. BE has become so much more powerful now. So instantly, I'm just going to be doing that because this gives me the most options. I can make this letter whatever I want to in the future. There's never a reason that I should like be using anything but the question mark block with BE now. Because, like, let's say I did want this to be an O or something. Very easily, I can just write it out to be an O after the fact. So, these are probably going to be conductors in the center. I'm seeing a lock here. I could maybe... There's no tlac, but I could make a taw by the end of things. I can also make another lock going down through here. So, let's start out with one of them. Lock here, get rid of the D. And then the second lock here. And then I would like to make... I don't want to paint this K, actually. I want to make a tlac through the center so that I have 2 spaces to get rid of, the C and the G. Very nice. Okay, I'm going to go back to the previous level. Did this have a BE in it? No, it didn't. Right. Okay, I'll wait a bit. I'll wait a bit. I thought the lesson that I learned from the BE making a question mark block was going to crack that one open, but no. So I can bounce as a conductor off of both of these spaces, but that doesn't allow me to get out very easily. So if I write a BE here, I could put a question mark block here instead, which will allow me to conduct into, like, further away. Rather than conducting and being able to, like, change directions here, I can change directions over here instead. And I think this writes out Lolo, which will allow me to get rid of these spaces, and then I can write out a ta. Oh, right. Also, a thing that I've learned is that if you spell words backwards, it will do the exact same thing. So that was a ta, but I spelled it out as at. Oh, this is odd. So I just need to find a way to, like, bounce them into each other. The second that I find a TA anywhere... Wait, hold on. Can I just fill out a TA? And then when I paint this one, I ask it to paint question mark blocks? I can. That's... Okay. I wonder if that's, like, the intended solution, or... BE will create a question mark block up here, and then I'm going to T, and then try going into itself again to be able to spell A. Yeah, so if I have a conductor like this, like a loop, I can spell out any word that I want. All right, so with the lesson learned here, we're going to be spelling out plaque, so that I have two characters to get rid of, the Z and the S. Ooh, but then I don't have the conductors removed. Interesting. And I do have to bounce through both question marks if... Lolo isn't gonna work. Ta takes up both of them, so does Tlack, so does Lock. BE doesn't do anything for me. Okay, so what word am I spelling then? There's no way that you can spell multiple words, right? Yeah, no, it just ends it early. And there's no way that I can only use one of the question mark blocks, right? Yeah, you can't bounce backwards. Well, it seems like such a small puzzle that, like, there's such a small amount of options that I should be able to figure it out pretty quickly. So using Lock just is worse than Tlack, so I should never use it, but using Tlack doesn't allow me to hit all of the conductors. So to be able to hit everything, I'd want to spell out Ta, and then hit the conductors, but I need to somehow hit the Z and the S beforehand. Which feels like I need to make a Ta and then a Tlack. Okay, let me try spelling out Lolo to see if that changes anything. Yeah, I didn't think so. Oh, what if I keep this as a question mark block? So I go T and then type out a question mark block and keep going around over and over again like that. The question mark? There's no way that I can skip a letter? Okay, if you hit backspace, apparently it gets you to stop typing. Hold on. If I hit backspace, this feels like it's a bug. Give me a second to reset. So, if I type out a letter, and I have multiple letters up on the board beforehand, I will fill out the next letter in the order. But if I have multiple letters on the board and I click backspace, it stops me from typing until I hit the next question mark. So, like, let's try this, where I've had to hit the T question mark, I backspace to not use this question mark, and then I hit this one, and I type out Ta. But that isn't a proper word, I guess, because there's a question mark in the middle of it. An at doesn't count either. Odd. I'm going to assume that that's a bug in the game, where you're just not supposed to hit backspace when typing out here. BE doesn't do anything, Lolo doesn't do anything, Ta is the closest that I get. But again, I need 2 separate Tas. I'll come back to this one later too. Alright, we don't have any words that have C, P, U, or G in them, or V, so I'm going to need to find a way to use these 3 question marks to get rid of all of them. I'm assuming that I'd want to spell out, let's go with Tlack to begin with, to get rid of the U and P, to be able to unlock the way to, what is it, like, chain these question marks together. So I just need to wrap this around 4 times, sorry. Tlack, get rid of the U and P. Now I can do the same thing with this guy down here, or the same thing with this guy up here. So then I'd make a Tlack next, and then a Ta to finish it off, but then I need 1 more question mark block still. So this Tlack gets made, but then how do I finish off the level? Because I need to make a Ta to get rid of all of the conductors, but I need to find a way to get rid of this G somehow. So I feel like the previous level might have taught me something where I'm able to get like more bang for my buck. Or, oh, no, I'm seeing it. Okay, so I can hit a Lolo to get rid of the V, the P, and the G down here. And I need to use this question mark block to get that done. So if I do this question mark block is already expunged, but I can get rid of the P, the V, the X, and the G. Then this guy can bounce through that question mark block to write whatever word I want, which is going to be Tlack, so that I can get rid of the U and C, which will allow me to bounce this guy into itself to write a Ta. Nice. Okay, we've got a B and an E, but we need to get rid of these letters first. I'm seeing a K, so I could make LOK as a letter. I could make Tlack as a letter. So I'd start with T, then pick up an L, pick up an A, and then hit a K. Oh, right. I'm typing out A-L, I'm not starting from the beginning. T-L-A for Tlack. And then BE is going to allow us to put another question mark block here to allow us to type out Ta to get rid of all of the conductors. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, we've got 7 letters to get rid of. L and K are seeming like I'm going to make a LOK to be able to get rid of both of them. It is expunging one of my question marks, but I'm fine with that, I think. Am I? Yes, because then I can wrap this one into itself as many times as I want. And I think I'm already seeing it. Then I want to make Lolo to get rid of all of these blocks. Or, how would I get this done? Because I want to write Lolo with this block to get rid of these 2. And then I just have to get rid of this S to be able to make a Ta, and then the Ta can get rid of the conductors. But that means that I have to get rid of this S somehow as well. So let me just do that with my LOK for right now. I'll find a way to get rid of this D in the future. That's Ta. Okay, yeah, so it is just that I have to get rid of that D. Now, how does that happen? So I can't, with this Lolo, get rid of this S ever. With this LOK, I need to get rid of this S to be able to let my Ta complete the line. So there has to be something else instead of this LOK that I make. Perhaps it's another Lolo? No, because the second that I do that... Could I bounce through this one and make a Tlack somehow? So I can make a tlack, but it uses both of these letters. Oh, I'd have to conduct through this one a second time. Hold on. X, T, L, conduct, A, conduct, and then I'd want to use the K. So we go up here. And then we would get rid of these two. So then I can make the low from before, but then I don't have the T for the ta anymore. And if I bounce this T into this L over here, I'm never able to get it back. So BE doesn't help. It is just LOK, tlack, ta, and low that work here. I don't think this ta should ever occur. Even later on into the game, I don't think I should use one of my question mark blocks when I've got an A up top. I could make a low from the get-go, right? Right, because I made a tlack from the get-go by conducting through these ones down below. And then L, and then conduct, and then O. Alright, so now with a low primed, I can get rid of these two blocks. Can I make a second low anywhere? I guess using this question mark block I can. But if I get rid of this line here, So this isn't currently helping me. I'm going to come back to this puzzle in a bit. I'm going to go back to a previous puzzle because I think I know how to solve... what is it? Not this one. There's another one that I skipped, 13. So right here, I had to create two words. Low to get rid of... Or I guess I just need to create two words in general. Yeah, tlack to get rid of the Z and the S, and then ta to get rid of all the conductors. So I need to have this block, like, darkened, and then put down two wildcards here. So to get that done, I put down a T. Let me just wrap this around a bunch of times. And we need to conduct on the top one, so I type out an X next, then an L, then an X, then an A, then an X, then a K. And that gets me tlack without using this question mark block up here. And now I can spell out ta. Okay. Let's go back to level 16. So I can spell any word that I want through these question mark blocks both times. Question is, what do I want to spell? So like all of these letters are different, so a ta isn't going to help me out. It's only going to help me out at the end when I get rid of the X's. I could make a tlack. That works. Yeah. Okay. A tlack and a lock, right? 1, 2. 2 tlacks? 2 tlacks using this L and this K, which I don't think is possible. Let me try just making a tlack to begin with. Alright, so T, X, L, X, A, X, K. Now with this, we get rid of these two. So I could make a ta. The ta can get rid of the X's, but that's a bit early. So let's do something like a lock first. And if I do a lock, then I do have one square left over. I'll be back when I solve the puzzle. Shouldn't take too long. Alright, so that actually took no time at all. It took me like 30 seconds off camera. What I needed to do was I needed to use this K in my tlack at the very beginning, and this L when typing out low. If I make a tlack using this K, I can cover up these two squares, and when I type out a low, I'll be able to cover up the R and the V. That gets rid of the L as part of the low, K is part of the tlack, 2 hits from the tlack, 2 hits from the low, and then ta to finish it off to get rid of all the X's, and the question mark blocks have obviously gone to the tlack and the low. So if I start typing this out, I'm not going to go too far. We start out with a T, then we conduct, we hit an L, conduct, and we hit this guy one last time for an A, and then hit the K up here for our TLAC without using this question mark block at all. And then we will come through and we'll type out low here. So then this one is a lot easier. So it's just LOLO. We get rid of all of these guys, and then the TA can just go through everything, get rid of the X's at the end. And that solves the puzzle. All right. I'm still gonna leave level 2 behind. We'll see what level 17 looks like. I am seeing a B, and I'm not seeing an E anywhere, so it really feels like we're going to do that at some point. But we're going to need to make an OK. I want to make a lock, but to make a lock, I need to branch it by like making a conductor here. I guess I can do... I can't do this BE yet. I need to get rid of these 2 squares to be able to bounce the B to get to this question mark. I guess I could just do this, and then I'd want to put a question mark block... Oh, sorry, BE. Hold on. I can just conduct through this one, and then I can use this question mark block up. And we say that that's an E, so that I can then put down a question mark block here, so that I can now bounce letters through this to pick up this O and K. So like I want to bounce this L into there somehow, but there's no current way for me to do that. Same with the TLAC. What I could do is put a question mark block up here and then write out TLAC through all of the bounces and get rid of 2 squares. And then the 2 question marks need to be bridged together somehow to allow me to type out a TA. Maybe that works. Okay, let me try hitting a BE here and then putting a question mark block in this corner to be able to type out that TLAC. So then this is going to be an X. Then this TLAC is going to get rid of these 2 black squares. And then I don't have an L to make a lock, but I could using this question mark block. But if I do, then I'm not able to create a TA at the end of things. And I'm also not able to bounce into this yet, because I need the bounce to be down here. So it definitely seems like BE is the first move. It just matters which one do I want to hit. If I get rid of this K with a lock, I could maybe make a low, and that might hit a lot of blocks. But that also might not do as much as I'm thinking. It has to be a TA to get rid of all of the X's. That's like so common. Which, hold on, I can use a TA to get rid of all of the white space first. And then my 2 question mark blocks at the end can be a second TA. So then I would want to bounce the L. I can't go through the K yet, though. Can I have the TA hit the K to do anything? No, because then it also hits the K down here and I can't make a lock. So the B can move one of these question mark blocks to somewhere else. I'm gonna give myself some time to ruminate. See you guys in a bit. Alright, so I've stumbled into the solution. I was fiddling around with the idea that if I get BE to create a question mark somewhere, I can maybe wrap a question mark into itself to write out the word BE, and then I can propagate those question marks throughout the entire map and maybe cover up a bunch of squares like that. But I wanted to, I need to create a loop to get that done. So I'm seeing an X, a question mark, which can just be a conductor space, an X and an X here. So I can loop around this if necessary. So if I make BE at the very beginning and put a letter down here, could be a question mark, but I'm going to write down lock so that I get rid of these 2 spaces and I can darken this. Now I've got an entire closed loop, right? That finishes this section. And now I've got a BE to allow myself to put a question mark anywhere. when I got to this point, I realized, oh, now I can't get this question mark to wrap into itself anymore, but that is fine because I have finished off a lot of the lower left side. So let me try finishing the top right now. I remembered the tlack that I could spell from earlier, and as soon as I hit this, I realized, oh, there's 2 spaces for me to fill in, and a question mark that can wrap back on itself, so then I can just spell out ta here to get rid of all the x's, and that solves the puzzle. All right, next one. A lot of question marks over here. A lot of possibilities for TAs. TA1, TA2, and TA3. We've got a question mark over here, so it seems like we should be conducting. We could actually, if this is a T, have this, this, and this all be conductors, so that when it branches back into here, we can write TA with only one question mark. And we've got TA1, TA2, and this question mark hitting somewhere. Well, I guess it could go TA1, TA2, and TA3. TA1 could hit... Do I want it to be TAs? I could also spell out tlack right away at the very beginning, which seems like a pretty good option. Oh, can this letter only be the same thing? Hold on, let me back up. T, we branch into here for an L, we branch into it again. Oh, but if I branch it, like if I ask it to be a letter, it needs to be done there. Okay, so this can only be a ta ever, unless I spell out tlack across this, but I don't want to take up 3 question marks to make a tlack. Do I, actually? Hold on. Let's write down a bunch of BEs to move these question mark blocks from up here in the corner to being down here along this loop instead. Can I get another BE in one block of space? I'm not sure, because what I want to do is make conductors so that I can wrap this to use this question mark block as a K for this lock. And also, what if I spend 2 question mark blocks to put down a question mark block over here? I don't want to get rid of these 2 because that's a ta in the future. So let's use these 2 for a question mark block here, and a BE for another question mark block here. And now I still need 1 more question mark block to make this work. So it seems like I need to... I could do this and then wrap back around to the outside to write my BE. That makes more sense. X and then E here. And then I can wrap back around in. Okay, that's how I do it. Let's get this guy to be a BE again. BXE. And then we can get 1 more out of here. BE. And now we're going to have to start, what is it, like... I can no longer wrap back in on myself. So these 2 just have to turn into 1 question mark down here. And now I've got a ta available to me, which can get rid of the U's. This lock that I make... Oh, wait, hold on. Let's paint all the dark space with this ta first. We'll go from there. So this now can create a... Oh, it creates a look. And I don't like that as much. I could also bake a Lolo out of it. Which, if I'm doing it like that, would I want to spell it down the backside instead? Would that make more sense? I could save 1 question mark tile. And then this question mark can be a lock at the end. Okay, so I need to move this question mark that I did at the very beginning to the left-hand side instead. Because I'm going to get rid of this U, this I, and this dark space all at the same time with 1 Lolo. So we create a BE and put a question mark here. We create a BE and put a question mark down here. We create another BE. And where do I need the question marks? I guess I'm not sure yet, but I'm just going to put them anywhere else. Then 1 last BE. And then the ta is going to get rid of all of the extra white space. Which, hold on, turning 2 question mark blocks into 1 question mark block just to like get rid of the white space might actually not be a good use of these guys anymore. So I'm gonna have this tar get rid of all of the dark space in between. Okay, well, let me try writing... I need to put down 1 more question mark here to be able to wrap itself back, like, into itself to make Lolo. So I guess I do need this last question mark. Alright, with Lolo, I'm able to get rid of all of these squares, which sucks because I don't want to get rid of these question mark blocks yet. I could maybe write down... I could start here, make this an L, and write out LOK, maybe? No, that doesn't work, unless I have a question mark block here. If I have a question mark block here, I could write down Lolo once. And that still gets rid of the 2 question mark blocks like this. And then I have the M and these 2 question mark blocks left to get rid of. What I could do is I could write out Ta through these corners to get rid of the M, and now write out a Lolo, but I don't have the conductors for it anymore. So to be able to conduct this to write out a Lolo, I would start with an L, I'd go into an O, I'd have a conductor space here instead, I'd bounce down, I'd have a conductor space here instead, and I'd branch up into this L. So I would need to move this conductor to here. Hold on, L, O, and then I have X, question mark, question, I need to branch through my question marks to be able to get the Lolo to pop. But then to write out my Ta, I can't be bouncing around these corners anymore. So max I can get for BEs out of this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I get a Ta. So I can put down 4 question marks down in this area somewhere. I could write down a LOK, but then I would need to use L, O, and K for something else. That might actually work. That might be better than Lolo if I write out 2 LOKs. Let's try that. And I'm just going to put the question marks in the corner for now. I might change their locations in the future. Oh, hold on. Need it to be BXE, not B question mark E. There we go. Another question mark. And the last question mark. So let's try writing out a LOK here. Oh, right. I need to allow myself to bounce from here. So L into O. I need a question mark block here. I don't want it in the top right corner. And that was, of course, my first one. Alright, L, O, and then we branch down into here to get our K, so it's out of the way. Oh, need to spell out the L first. We get 1 LOK, get rid of the U. We can now use up all of these letters and spell out a Lolo. Oh, I think that actually solves it. So if I LOK and get rid of this square in the corner, hold on. Before I do that LOK, let me get a Ta to get rid of these excess spaces. So I can use a LOK to get rid of this M. Oh, hold on. Didn't spell that correctly. L-O-K, get rid of this M, and now these 4 spaces can spell out Lolo for me. No, the first one is a conductor. So L, conduct into an X. Is there a way that I can make a Lolo like this? Because I can make LOL, but I don't have enough question mark blocks to wrap back into itself to make LOLO. What if I make LOLO by wrapping around here? That uses up all the letters. This would have to... That doesn't work either. Let me back this up. So if I wanted to create LOLO, I would have to go all the way around, which begets me putting question marks in all 4 of the corners, and I can only make 4 question marks. So then if I wanted to spell lock afterwards, I cannot use this O, and I would need a question mark block here, so that doesn't work. Unless I use this here and I don't actually spell with this letter. No, but there is no way for me to put a question mark block down here. Well, I guess after I spell out LOLO, I've still got the question mark block, so I can have a BE, write down a question mark down here. That works. Okay. BXE. I think I see a pitfall in this, but I'm still going to test it just to make sure. BE, we put a question mark block here. And then BE for a last question mark block here. So now I can spell out LOLO by bouncing around all of the question mark blocks. Oh, because I need to get rid of these spots. Ta, right. But if I ta early, then I'm not able to fill out these spots afterwards. So that was a pitfall that I didn't see happening. What I was going to do was spell out LOLO by bouncing around this, get rid of the U and the I, but then that gets rid of these question mark blocks. What I wanted to do at the end was use some of the question mark blocks to spell out BE, to then be able to get these guys filled up with question mark blocks so that I could spell out lock with this guy, but that's not how it works. And there's no way that I can bounce a BE over to this white space, so I can't propagate any more of these question mark blocks out. The max is 4, truly. If I was able to get rid of this L and O somehow, and like, let's say I spend the LOLO up here, then I just have all of these question mark blocks to spend. So let's write out a ta. Then we can spell out this LOLO, use it in a spot that I don't need, and now I've just got a bunch of question mark blocks that I can spell like any words that I want with. So this ta could get rid of all of the I's, but let's use this question mark block to get rid of it, and then this one can spell out a ta to get rid of the U's. Nice. Okay, much easier than I thought. I was overcomplicating it. Now for the hardest level of them all, level 2. Is there something that I'm missing where like I wasn't considering this being a conductor? Can it even be a conductor? Because this has to be the first letter that I spell with either a tlack or a lock. So that I don't bore you guys, I'm going to stop the recording, see how long this takes me. I'll be back when I find the solution. Alright, how did I not see this earlier? I can spell out tlack down here, and then like I've done before, I use the ta to be able to hit this question mark block, and it asks me what letter I want to get rid of. I would like to get rid of R, please, and it also gets rid of it. I've been using that mechanic in other levels, I just didn't use it in the simplest case. Crazy. Looks like we're going to need to write out BE at some point. And then we could also maybe spell out a lock, but no, there's an O all the way out here in the corner. How do I get that O used, and how do I get that K used? I guess I could write out 2 tas, get rid of the K, write out this ta and get rid of the O. I just need to find a way to get rid of this middle space, which I could write down. Let's say I do a BE in the corner. I can make this a question mark block. Oh, right. I can bounce around to spell out ta using only one of the question marks. So let's do that. T and A, so that I can get rid of this square in the middle. Not yet. Not yet. I guess I could get rid of the K on the corner, and then the BE down here. to be able to make a question mark block here or an O block here, so that I can then type out a ta and get rid of both of the O's at the same time. There we go. That is the quantum world complete. And I've unlocked the next world and a bonus world because I've gotten all 8 keys. I'm going to go to the next world first, bonus world the episode after. I'll see you guys there.